Welcome to our CHIPS Release 15.0 presentation. During this presentation, we'll be highlighting numerous enhancements added to the 2018 release of CHIPS. Please refer to the CHIPS release letter for information concerning these enhancements. If you are following along with the release letter, please mark any items that you have further questions about and contact support. Now we'll begin going through the new enhancements. First, the CHIPS icon has been redesigned. After installing the update, the computer may need to be rebooted for the new icon to take effect. The first time you log into CHIPS after the update has been put in, it'll prompt you to read the release letter. It'll also prompt you to fill out the Stay Connected. Once this is filled out, this message won't come up again. The release letter is also always accessible from the top menu. The first option we'll talk about are some with employee maintenance. There's numerous enhancements within the employee maintenance area. First, when making a change in employees, there is an option to have the system automatically prompt to add a note. This option can be enabled in the System Controls on the Controls tab down at the bottom. By checking this box, this will enable the option for any time an employee record is changed that the system will prompt you to add a note. You can also designate a note type to be used with those employee notes as well. Now, once that's enabled, anytime an employee record is changed, the system will prompt you to add a note. So if I change the department number, hit OK, CHIPS will prompt to add a note. We can either answer yes or no. If you do answer yes, then type in the note, hit OK, and then close out once we've entered all the notes that we want to add. So that option is enabled within the System Controls. The next option is related to the Expense Accounts button at the bottom of the screen. By pressing this button, any expense accounts used by this employee would be displayed along with what it's used for. There is a new checkbox to suppress duplicate expense accounts. When this is checked, each expense account will only be listed once in the grid. This can be useful in setting up distributions by allowing the user to only see each expense account once. There are also two new options to enable or disable the employer retirement and insurance premium. Sometimes deduction codes are used to track these, so in those cases you might not have a need for those fields. So this option would disable those so you don't accidentally type something into those fields if you don't mean to. That option is also in the System Controls. On the Controls tab in this Employee Preferences area, there's two checkboxes: Enable Employer Retirement and Enable Insurance Premium. By unchecking those fields on the employee screen would be disabled, so you couldn't accidentally type something into those. There's also a new option to default this pension box to be checked when adding new employees. And that's also in the System Controls on the Controls tab. Over here on the far right, Default Pension. By checking that, anytime you add a new employee, that pension box would automatically be checked, just when you're adding an employee though. The next new feature is related to the employee main screen with the sequence options. There's now an option to sequence by department order. So when you select that, these would be in department number order first, followed by employee name order. Also on this main screen of employee maintenance, on the far right, the termination date is also now included on this screen. There's also an ability to have direct deposit accounts show up in different colors based on their status. So within the system controls on the preferences screen, there's an option to set up the direct deposit color preferences. This would be based on status. So if you wanted the inactive direct deposit accounts to show up in a different color, or the active to show up in a different color, that's where those would be set up at. And then on the employee screen, any employee that has direct deposit accounts, those different colored ones would show up here. So if we had the inactive show up as a different color, that would show up on here as a different color. Now the next thing that we'll go through are a number of changes with the deduction and earning codes. So the first thing is when you're accessing deduction and earning codes, there's now an option to see the employees with this code. When this box is clicked, it will show all the employees that have this code assigned. And at the bottom of this screen, there's filters. So if you wanted to just see the active employees or ones within a certain department, this screen shows basic information including the employee and employer amounts. And also from this screen, these deductions can be edited. So if we wanted to change the amounts for some or all of these employees, we would click on the employee that we want to edit, click the Edit Employee Deduction Earning Information, and from here type in whatever we want to change it to. And then that would change the employee's deduction earning information. There's also another button up here to print. If you wanted to print a list of the employees that have that deduction code, that's what this list would be for. You can select to have detail information or not detail information. You can also select different ranges if you just wanted to see the active or just full-time employees. And this would produce a list of everyone that has that deduction code. The next piece related to deduction codes is related to a new frequency. So within employee maintenance, when you add a deduction code, you'll also select a frequency. The new frequency is called semi-annually. So this could be defined at the employee level, can also be used as an employee default. And then when the calculation process for calculating payroll is used, that semi-annually would be located on that screen for you to select as well. Then one other thing related to deductions and earnings, specifically deductions, is with the box 12 field. The box 12 has been updated to allow for the two new codes, GG and HH, to be used as well. A new deduction employee list has been added to the system. The employee deduction list can be accessed from the reports, deduction employee list. Basically, the same report that is used when we look at the deduction earning codes and we choose to see employees with a particular deduction code, that list that prints. Basically the same report. This is just where you can access it from a menu option instead of just within the deduction earning area itself. So put in the ranges, whatever deduction code has the include detail for it or not. So just another way to see what employees have a particular deduction. Then in addition to that, there's also what's called an employee deduction earning report. And that is within the employer reports area. And this program lists each employee and the deduction earnings they have along with the detail of them. This too has ranges that you can select for to only include the employees or the employees or deductions that you want to see on it. For employee notes, the way that follow-ups work has changed. Now when a note is added to the system, a new follow-up author is available, or a new follow-up user is available in addition to the author. The user is defaulted to the same name as the author, but it can be changed. The user is given the ability to add a note and assign the follow-up responsibilities to another user. There is also a user login search next to the follow-up user field. The follow-up alerts program has been changed to use this new field instead of the author field, and the follow-up user also shows up in the grid. During the 15 conversion, the author fields will be converted to the follow-up user field. Also in notes, there is now the ability to view or edit an employee from the follow-up alert screen. So you can go directly to the employee and take care of whatever needs to be done concerning the note at that point. Also, the new follow-up user has been added to the skills as well. It also has a search to find the user. So that gives the ability for the user to add an employee skill and assign the follow-up responsibility to another user. The skills report also has the new follow-up user range, and the follow-up user has been added to the actual report itself. The follow-up alerts also has been changed to check for follow-up alerts for the employee skills in addition to the notes that they currently do. A new ethnic origin maintenance area has been added to the system. User-defined employee ethnic origins will be stored in ethnic origin maintenance. If an employee is assigned an ethnic origin, it must already exist in the ethnic origin maintenance area. This has also been changed to have a search option to select from existing ethnic origins. And there's also an option within employee maintenance to press F7 to go directly to ethnic origins to add any while within employee maintenance as well. During the CHIPS 15.0 conversion, any employees with ethnic origins already assigned would automatically be created during the time of the conversion. A new job titles maintenance has been added to the system. User-defined employee job titles will be stored in job title maintenance. If an employee is assigned a job title in employee maintenance, the job title must already be set up in the job titles area. There's a search button next to the job titles field that can be pressed to select an existing job title. There is also the ability to add a job title while adding or editing an employee by pressing the F7 button. Any job titles currently assigned to employees will be automatically added to job titles during the conversion process. Also, from within the job titles menu area, there is a job titles report option, which will be able to list out any job titles that are in the system, as well as an option to include the employees associated with that job title. And this same option exists with the ethnic origins as well. So we can print out a list and see each job title, which employees are assigned to it, and how many employees there are. The next area will be some modifications with the global change of the employee's deduction earning option. What this is used for is if we change a default frequency, or what the enhancement is if we change the default frequency on a deduction code and we want to synchronize it or change it to match on all of the other employees, we could do that within here. We would select the deduction code that has the default frequency assigned to it, and then that would enable this box here where we would check that, and all the frequencies assigned to that deduction code would be synchronized or changed on all the employees to match. So that's related to on the deduction codes. There's an option to set up a default frequency. So we could set up a default frequency, and then that global change option would allow us to change all the employees to have the exact same frequency. Payroll vouchers. For users who are required to produce payroll vouchers, a new option has been added to the system controls to automatically produce this form. So in the system controls, on the Preferences tab, down in the bottom right, there's an option to set up the voucher information. There's a checkbox that enables this to print when we print the check direct deposit report, as well as filling out the appropriate information for this voucher. Then once that's turned on, that would be printed automatically after we print this report here. So we print the check direct deposit report. When we print this, it would also print the voucher afterwards. The Bucks interface has been changed to no longer default the Bucks security month and year. The user will now be required to type this information in. So previously this would default to the period that Bucks was in. Now the user needs to type that in to try to keep from things being interfaced to the wrong period. We'll make sure the user tells us what period it needs to go to. The withholding invoice report now has an option to return to the report option screen once the report has finished printing. A preference has also been added for this option. So the withholding invoice report, this option here, and that's throughout the system on a lot of the other reports already. So once you make these selections, check that box, print, preview the report, it'll return you back to this screen so you can do it again if you'd like. The system controls has had some updates made specifically to the controls tab to better group many of the checkboxes on the screen. So it's been organized to have preferences related to the payroll itself, preferences for what prints on the checks, preferences for setting up employees. Next, users that use the FRS, Florida Retirement System interface, there's a new ability when processing a payroll for lump sum payouts to assign code 23 to those. So if you're processing a payroll using the FRS lump sum payment option, by default that uses work code period 21, but you can also use work code number 3 as well. This one is used for payments of overtime and compensation time, among other things as well. The FRS file generation program will create 2 separate records if both are used during that pay period. With a lot of the different reports that are printed in the system, the calculation of the available lines per page has been enhanced, which basically adds about 6 additional lines to the report throughout the system. So a lot of the reports had a little extra white space at the bottom of the report. That's been enhanced to better utilize that space on the reports. The blank checks, for users that use the blank check stock module, there's some additional options for the horizontal positioning of the Micker line that prints on the blank stock, where it can be adjusted here. Previously we had the option to adjust the vertical, but you can also adjust the horizontal as well. Also, with a lot of the reporting options in the system, there is a new option. So pretty much any report that can print out, there's an additional option when you get to the print selection window, where you normally would choose the printer or OK to print it or to preview it. There's an additional option on this screen to print to a PDF. So this would print the report directly to a PDF file. By default, this PDF will be created in the CHIPS documents default directory that's specified in the system controls. If no document directory is specified, it defaults to the document directory in the CHIPS data directory itself. So that's on most of the reports. And also, during the main conversion, so in converting to the new version of CHIPS, the main screens that you'll see during the conversion have all been updated. They've been changed. They no longer maximize automatically, so the entire desktop is no longer used. So you can still access other things while the conversion is going through. The individual file conversion programs have also been changed with the way that the scrolling of the records displays. So it kind of gives it a little bit more of an up-to-date look when we're running the conversion. And that will conclude our CHIPS 2018 release overview. Thank you for watching our video, and please let us know of any questions. Thank you.